Hey guys, good morning. Happy Monday. It's Daryl here. It's coming up on 5 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I've been researching different articles on Captain Brett Crozier and the aircraft carrier, the Theodore Roosevelt. Uh, I'm I'm livid. I'm so angry right now. Let me go over it for you guys. Uh, Captain Crozier was witnessing the disease COVID-19 spread throughout the ship at an alarming rate. He wasn't getting any response from the Navy. And this, we know just how fast this thing spreads from person to person. Now, you picture on an aircraft carrier, um, I believe those ships carry about 5,000 people, a small town. And we're talking in one day. Look how many people get infected in one day in New York City. Thousands. I think like 10,000 people. Now imagine on an aircraft carrier. It could just be. I'm not a doctor or anything, but from my guesses, it would only take a day or two before that almost that entire ship would be sick, and how many of those would be dead. So the captain wrote this letter. The letter got out. Now that's the issue supposedly. Donald Trump fired this captain. Okay. So far, 100 of the sailors on that ship have tested positive for COVID-19. The captain himself has tested positive. So his worries, his reasoning was sound. He himself was sick. I don't know how many ventilators, how much. I highly doubt. I'm guessing here, but I highly doubt that they have enough equipment on that ship to handle a pandemic type virus. That's not really what an aircraft carrier, I imagine, would be set up for. I would think the main thing to do if the health of the ship is in trouble, in that much trouble, would be to get the people off the ship and quarantine them. The captain saved their lives, needless to say. I mean, you could slice this no matter which way, any way you want. The captain saved his sailors' lives by getting them off that ship as soon as possible. That ship, it was no longer battle ready. It was no longer an asset to the nation. It was going to become a tomb. That's about it. All right. So Trump said what the captain did was a terrible thing. A terrible thing. When the captain left that ship after Trump fired him, his crew cheered him on, his past crew at that point, because he'd been fired, let out a huge cheer and cheered him on because he saved their lives. Now Trump has said, like, Trump, in his usual babbling, juvenile elementary school fashion, talked about that the captain writing the letter wasn't the right thing. This letter got all over the place, and this isn't a literary class. He shouldn't have wrote that letter. I think in what the president is referring to in his own handicapped juvenile way is, I think he's talking about the chain of command, and I understand that. Let's just, like I said, I have no experience with the military or medical, but this, I'm guessing this is an emergency situation. If let's just say there was a bomb on the ship, which more or less is what it was. What would be the protocol? If the Navy brass didn't respond and there was a bomb on the ship, what would a good captain do? Get his men off that ship any way he can and save their lives. I'd imagine. Dying for nothing. This isn't patriotism. This isn't fighting against the enemy. This is just dying for paperwork. This is dying to save the the reputation of the great Donald Trump. So so Donnie doesn't look bad. That's all this is. That's all this is. It has nothing to do with patriotism. It has nothing to do with the enemy or fighting or any of that. Lieberman got some points for me here. Lieberman is thinking just like what I thought. I think this captain should get accommodations, ribbons for saving his ship, and that's what Lieberman said. He thinks that the captain getting fired was criminal, and I agree with that too. Joe Lieberman got some, not Joe Lieberman. I'm sorry. Joe Biden got some points for me here. I'm sorry if I said Lieberman there. I'm in an uproar this morning. I read about 5 different articles. I try to read conservative. I try to read more liberal leaning, and I try to get a good idea of what really happened. And the point here is Trump and supposedly the Navy brass is behind Trump. Are upset about his letter getting out and the chain of command. The bottom line here is, though, this wasn't an engagement of the enemy, and the captain was trying to save his men, and which he succeeded in doing. I think this should go down in history as one of the worst calls ever. I'm so furious right now with Donald Trump and then reading his juvenile elementary school response to this about it being a literary class. This isn't a literary class. This is the Navy. It just demonstrates to me again, and I'll go back to Joe Rogan. I'll be honest with you guys. Let me skip back. I have not gone back to check yesterday's video on my responses to my Joe Rogan video, but I will. This is one of the things that makes me wonder how people can support Donald Trump like Joe Rogan. How do you justify this? I'm sure that they'll say, well, it's chain of command in the Navy, and this is how things work on there. Like I said, this is common sense. This is about saving lives. This is a whole different scenario. I assume that the Navy probably has had protocols and drills and a playbook for something like this. I don't know, but I don't know. It disgusts me, and I would think it would disgust most Americans. The firing of Captain Brett Crozier from the aircraft carrier Theodore Roosevelt for saving his men's lives. I think it's despicable. All right, you guys have a good Monday.